Hey guys, and welcome to the 6th episode of my Headphone Zone unboxing. I have tested some KZ Acoustics earphones before, like the KZ ZSN Pro as well as the KZ ZEX in the very last video. These are the KZ ZSN Pro X and I've got my hopes up for these. So let's jump straight in with their build. These earphones come with a metal faceplate and a resin enclosure that shows off its insides. It has a fine print of the model number on the side of the housing and also has a detachable cable like the other KZ Acoustic IEMs. The cable terminates to a 2-pin connector on one side and the other is a 3.5 mm auxiliary cable, which should be convenient to connect to your phone or dongles. The faceplate does have a nice finish, but it is not as nice looking as the previous KZ Acoustics I reviewed, the KZ ZEX. The right side of the cable does have a little control pod unit which has a button which should let you play and pause your music as well as answer and end phone calls. So you can connect with your gamer buddies thanks to the little microphone in this, and much like the KZ ZEX, this control unit looks exactly the same as that one. So I don't think there'll be any real difference in the audio with the microphones between the two models, but there's only one way to find out. This is the quality of sound you can expect from the ZSN Pro X for any of your recipients, whether you're making a phone call or even gaming with them. And obviously, like every other earphone, these don't have environmental noise cancelling. They're very analog set of earphones, but the microphones on the KZ series all have the same component, at least it looks like that. So I expect this to sound very similar to the other KZs in this price range, because if they use the same cable and use the same microphone, this is pretty much what you can expect for them. And of course, if you're walking anywhere in a very busy area, those sounds will also bleed in. For obvious reasons, there's no environmental noise cancelling like I mentioned. And of course, I do hope that this audio demo has given you a better understanding of what these earphones are about, at least with their microphone, and I hope it's helped you make some sort of a purchase decision. These earphones come with 2 drivers per earphone. One is a 10 mm dynamic driver and the second one is a balanced armature driver. The first ever BA drivers that I did here were in the KZ ZSN Pro, and I really did like the sound of those. These are fairly easy to drive with a resistance of just 25 ohms. Considering how easy these are to drive, you don't really need to go past 25 or even 30% volume unless you plan on damaging your hearing in the long run. And even down low at 5% volume, these do stay fairly rounded. And one thing I've noticed with KZ Acoustics, having these many drivers, I think this is a perk of having these many drivers even at lower volumes, because each independent driver is handling whatever frequencies it has to, so it's not struggling for anything else, and this handles low volumes really comfortably. When it comes to their staging, these do have a slightly more expansive stage than some other IEMs I've tested in these series, and they also do have a little height to them. There are some tones that also give you the illusion of coming slightly further out of the earphones as well. Imaging from all these earphones has actually blown me away from this entire series so far, because not that they're the best I've heard in imaging, but because I really wasn't expecting this kind of detail to come out of earphones like these. These earphones are no exception of the lot. They are fairly easy to zone into when it comes to their detail. You can zone into any nuance you want, and I suspect that BA driver also contributes to how easy and how well these image. High frequencies are not handled at all like the last KZ Acoustics that I tested, the KZ ZEX. Those could tend to be a little sibilant. These stay comfortably away from being like that. They might come close to it with some recordings, but they don't quite get there. These handle their highs more like how soft velvet would feel rather than a hard brittle plastic. It's soft and easy on the ears, ensuring longer listening sessions without listening fatigue. Listening to Dan Fogelberg's beautiful guitar work in his track Longer, the gentle plucking of his strings make it feel almost like you're performing yourself. This range is soft, crisp and easy on the ear at all times. The mid frequencies come at you in a slight V-shaped setting. The higher mids are slightly elevated, making female vocals a little more prominent, and the lower mids are slightly recessed, pushing your male vocals slightly in the distance. Usually this kind of tuning makes male vocals sound a bit on the nasal, tinny side, but these manage to maintain a rounded delivery in this range and also put the vocals slightly in the distance rather than just lower the volume. This does help give this range some dimension. Listening to Billy Joel's And So It Goes, these manage to make this sound and feel really intimate, as if you're sitting with him in a hall and he's performing just for you. Every little bit of decay off of the piano and reverb are carried over well to you by these earphones. Lower frequencies are a tad bit on the elevated side but stay miles away from being exaggerated. This range is delivered with a certain sense of maturity that I haven't heard in the other earphones in the box, and find a terrific balance between being too thin and over enthusiastic. The folk at KZ Acoustics have done quite the job with how they handle this range. At no point does it seem lacking, rather remains quite present even with older recordings. Listening to Roop Kumar Rathod's Mola Mere Mola, the bass line, which has usually been a bit thin on the other sets of earphones from the box, tells a different story here. It's composed and suave in its delivery and made me not want to take these earphones off for a much longer time than any other earphones. So to sum up, when it comes to their overall build, I've liked all the KZ Acoustics earphones I've got my hands on, but I can honestly say after handling the KZ ZEX, these don't really seem at par with those when it comes to the finish. Just the overall design of the ZEX is absolutely gorgeous. I wish that these did look something like that, but it's not that they're badly made. One thing I did notice that I didn't like too much, the gum or the gluing between the faceplate and the resin body is kind of visible. There are parts where you can tell that there's glue over there. On the other KZ Acoustics that I've tested, I haven't really seen this or really experienced, or it's not been so prominent. It's not really a problem considering how much these earphones cost. They are put together well. It's not going to fall apart anytime soon. It's maybe something KZ Acoustics could think about making a little better with newer pieces. Now, when it comes to this sound, I have never really been a fan of IEMs purely because I find it really uncomfortable to cram in earphones into your ear. I always feel kind of violated using these earphones, so I've always preferred using over-ear headphones. They're just a lot more comfortable to me. But these earphones in particular have been a bit magical for me because I usually tend to connect with very few pieces of equipment. There are very few speakers that I've connected with, very few headphones, and very few IEMs. And these are one of them. In the sense of all the earphones that I've tested so far, I've not once gotten up out of my studio and wanted my wife to listen to them until I got to these. I just had to make her listen to these. And even she thought that these were in a much higher price bracket than what they are because they just perform so well. I think these are more Goldilocks earphones because they handle everything well. They're not over exaggerated in the bass. They've got enough body. They're not sibilant. They've been tuned practically to perfection. They image well, they stage well, and I think that of the entire lot that I've heard, these might be the one set that I might want to own myself. I'd certainly recommend these to anyone who's tired of the whole TWS thing. If you're sick of your batteries dying, or if you're really fed up of the overall bloatedness of the TWS sound, these are a really good step into the hi-fi hobby. Or even if you've not really experienced hi-fi, this is the way to get into it because this will expose you to what it should be, and it will leave you really enjoying your music and wanting that much more. And all this at an absolutely unbelievable price. So right now, at the time of recording, these have an MRP of 2,499, but they're being sold for 1,899 on headphonezone.in. And if you would like to buy these earphones and think they are for you based on how well I've described them, I'm leaving a link down below that has been provided by Headphone Zone. So if you've stayed this long, I presume you do like the content on my channel, and if you would like to support it, I'm sure you know exactly how to. And of course, thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.